Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on the program Beyond 100 Days with me, Abosede Adeniran. You can join the conversation on X at TVC News NG. Use the hashtag Beyond 100 Days. Let's begin in China, where President Bola Tinubu says Africa holds vast opportunities for investments, growth and development with its vibrant population, productive economy and natural resources. Speaking at a bilateral meeting in Beijing with Chinese Premier Li Qiang, President Tinubu commended the role of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in advancing partnership between Africa and China for mutual development and prosperity. He also called for a strategic focus on areas of collaboration that will ensure the relationship remains beneficial.
And this journey together, we believe that we can share a very common denominator, which is investment and development, to ensure China and African relationship is encouraged. I'm happy that the strategic partnership being promoted is acceptable to both sides. And this is the only way to go. Africa is a huge opportunity for economic development. As a great people, I'm willing to partner for progress and development.
For more on the development, National President, National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Dele Oye, joins me from Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Good to have you join us on the program. If you could do me a favor, kindly turn down the volume of whatever device you're listening with, because there appears to be some echo. But getting into the conversation, President Tinubu has declared that Nigeria-China ties have at this time been elevated to a comprehensive developmental partnership. What would you say is the significance of this and this elevation of ties between both countries? How is it meant to impact Nigerians back home?
Well, first of all, Nigeria and China have a long-standing economic relationship. And the establishment of FOCAC is a huge platform for strengthening that China-Africa collaboration. And like you've seen in the last 20 years, most of the development, especially on the infrastructure scale in Nigeria, have been done mainly by Chinese companies and investments in Nigeria. So there's a huge potential for the relationship. And I think it's a good way to start by the President going there to provide these investments so that we can have the framework for us to do proper trade between both countries.
All right, and then both countries signed 5 MOUs, including on the Belt and Road Initiative and the Human Resource Development under the Global Development Initiative. How is this meant to change the landscape and, of course, improve the livelihood of Nigerians?
Well, we're very grateful to Mr. President for providing these framework agreements. And the key areas of cooperation are trade and investment, infrastructure development, economic diversification, and the outcome of President's visits will further echo and bring vigor to these areas. And the outcomes are the affirmation of mutual respect for both the partnership and emphasis on win-win situation, cooperation, and commitment to promote development, peace, and stability. There was also a focus on mutually beneficial collaborations, alignment with Nigeria economic development priorities, and also the area of security too. The Chinese have been playing some part in providing some security appliances for Nigeria. I think this should be strengthened so that we can be able to have safe environments for various investments. Other potential areas of investment in the partnership agreement is agriculture and agro-processing, manufacturing and industrialization, digital economy and technology. Also, the strengthening of focal platform in the ECOWAS forum as Nigeria is the current president. So if we leverage all this, you will see that there will be more or enhanced framework for Chinese investment in Nigeria. And I think we should commend Mr. President for this. And at Nasima, as the leader of the private sector in Nigeria, the Chamber of Commerce fully embraces this agreement, and we tend to work closely with the relevant ministries and agencies to give fruit to it.
And quite importantly also, the president played up Nigeria's status as a country with the largest population in Africa and the biggest economy with very young population that can drive economic growth and cross-sectoral programs. How do we harness these potential to our advantage?
Well, Africa, we're very lucky in Africa. About 60% of our population are young. Not just young, most of them are educated and necessarily involved in the critical areas of IT, innovation, and every other aspect. So what we're saying is we're not just breeding people who go and work in ministries. We're already breeding people or making people who are already skilled up with different aspects of life, which can actually make, that's why for me, I'm not worried about our future because I know our youth today are actually more or better equipped with the availability of AI, the internet, and every social media. They have more information. So they're going to transform our economy. They're going to change our story. So Nigeria has a huge potential for this. You see what we've done with the fintech and the financial ecosystem, even not just in Nigeria, in Africa. So we lead in several areas. And I think the Chinese will find Nigeria as a better place where you have a huge market, a young population, not just young, those type of population that is well educated. So I'm optimistic about my future. And I think Nigeria should be happy for the kind of uses I'm able to generate for the future of Nigeria.
You've just spoken about the fact that Nigerians are very well educated. That's beautiful. But also many will say that more often than not, once we acquire this education, we just have a way of moving out and, moving all of the knowledge and skills acquired out there. And with this, MOU that was signed on human resource development under the Global Development Initiative, for instance, how do you see it impact the issue of brain drain that you're currently experiencing across different sectors in Nigeria?
Well, I can tell you also, from my knowledge of the industry, that there's a whole lot of reverse japa. You can see what is happening in Canada now. A lot of the policies are being skewed, so that after they finish school, they should come back. I'm happy they've got the knowledge, and they're going to come back and use it. Even those that have left, they'll be able to work in better facilities, and they can easily come back as body entrepreneurs and open businesses with the knowledge and skills they just acquired. There's no way people don't move. It is for us as a government or a country to provide incentives so that they can utilize it. Part of the thing the government is trying to do with this student loan, and there should be more loans for youth entrepreneurs so that they can actually stay back home. Because it's a lot easier to do it in your environment than to go to a strange land. So it's for us, we're going to work with the government. We hope the government will take the challenge, like the Chinese have done, to invest in their youth, have more recreation, have more youth loans. But it's very important. That is the most critical part. If they have access to long-term, medium and long-term capital, a lot of this brain drain we're experiencing will reverse japa. Because people who do their work here, the Burna Boys, the Davido, they all live in Nigeria, though they have some form of, they live a bit abroad, but they still stay here. What that tells you is that we have enough to still retain this youth. It's for us to look at it as a deliberate policy, create more policies. The government should work with the private sector so that we can actually address this issue in a more structured stakeholder arrangement, so that we can behave like China, retain our talents, and do so much for our country in the short term and long term.
One of the key speeches the president made, in the build-up to the election was the fact that he's looking at an avenue to move the topic from Japa, like we call it, to Jakpada, like whoever is out there, can actually come back home. And then you have spoken about the government working with the private sector. In specifics, what exactly are you looking at? Does this relationship exist already? How has it been? And what levels of a better partnership are you looking at?
on first-hand information, I can tell you that those people that were doing very well here, who thought they would do better, and they jackpot, most of them are back. Because it's not easy to fit into another society. Those that sold their houses and don't have anything to come back to are those ones that are still stuck there. But if we take it as a deliberate policy, we take working closely with the government, we can actually reverse this. Because even the doctors that left, some of them, they don't really want to stay. It's not easy to stay in a very cold environment when you have been used to a normal environment in terms of the weather. So there are many issues. You cannot jackpot at the age of, say, 45, 50, and you think you'll be comfortable anywhere you are going, because you're already used to a particular setting. So it's for government to really find out what the issues are, how we can have a policy, the private sector working with the government to make sure that these people come back in a structured way. So, but what is happening now is still almost on an individual basis, where each person is doing based on his own peculiarity or the kind of support we are able to give them that through the Chamber of Commerce. But we are working there, really providing some level of mentorship. I just came back now from Ghana. I went for a diaspora conference in Ghana, and I was able to study how Ghana has been able to use it, not just to bring back their own people, but to bring in new diasporans. And even have a diaspora embassy there. So as I went to understudy them, we have a lot to learn from their strategy. But what is important, a lot is happening in Nigeria too. But I just wanted to see how Ghana has been able to catalyze theirs by using it, because every time they are doing it to diaspora, it's happening in Ghana. So we've done a lot at the official level, but I think we can actually make it also at the private sector level. We're working with our colleagues in Ghana. I also believe a trade mission to Michigan in the month of September, the sidelines of the United Nations. I'm going with about 100 persons. Part of it to also show to our people there that we back home, we are not doing so badly, and that they should try and come back. I think we should be able to also use that process to recruit some of them back home. I'm not happy about what has happened in the medical field, but we're going to work hard to make sure our hospitals take the benefit of the new experiences our boys and girls have had through JAPA, and so we can enforce it. But government also need to also create a deliberate policy to make sure to discourage these things. And we're ready to work with government on it.
We know that China is very well known for, for infrastructure, for building, for construction. And in Nigeria, for instance, you talk about rail projects that are being, spearheaded now, in partnership with Nigeria, working to fix those. And there have also been questions about what we're doing, especially in this administration, with regard to rail, because it appeared to be the focal point of the previous administration, but we don't seem to have heard so much about it in this administration. Based on this meeting, on these interactions going on in China, what are your expectations in the rail sector?
Well, like I said, we're grateful to the Chinese for the huge investment they've made in our rail sector. We've seen a bit of lull in it lately, either the financing has dried up. But I think with this visit, the vigor, because there's nothing, you achieve a whole lot. That's why the framework agreement has just been entered into, is to remove some of those stumbling blocks so that we can restart again. And the government has already laid out some further projects on that set. I'm sure they are part of the offerings. I don't have the details of how much exactly will achieve on the project-to-project basis. But I know all the stumbling blocks with the Chinese Exim Bank and several other multilateral agencies between both countries, that those issues would have been resolved. Because it's not just going there to sign, but these signs are predicated on projects. And I think we'll have more information on that. But I know the Chinese have done very well with it, and I think they want to continue, because we've had a win-win situation on the rail project, and we're grateful for their investments.
All right, then. And, well, as we expect further discussions there, we're looking forward to more deals that Nigeria can sign and how this would actually benefit our people back home. Thank you very much, Delioye, National President, NAXIMA. Thank you for talking to us on the program today.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.